Separating your foreground subject from the background of an image is a staple in compositing, and thankfully in the modern age it is easier than ever to do this with After Effects. Now, whether you want to completely swap out the background or add something like text behind someone, it's really easy to do, and these are 3 of the best ways to do it in the program. Number 1, rotoscoping via the Roto Brush in After Effects. It's got some tight AI wizardry going on under the hood, and you're likely to get some pretty decent results no matter the footage you're working with. But stick around and we'll look at number 2 and number 3, which is rotoscoping via the Roto Brush and a green screen, and we'll even look at how to manually rotoscope, yes, that's a thing, in case all of these whiz-bang tools don't work on the footage that you're working with, in case it's particularly pesky. Okay, so number 1, rotoscoping via the Roto Brush. In this composition here, you can see that I have the footage that I want to rotoscope. Now make sure that you're viewing your composition at full resolution via this dropdown. Then double click on your footage layer to open it up in the layer viewer. Navigate to your Roto tool in the top toolbar or use Option W to select the Roto Brush. If you don't see it up here, it may look like the Refine Edge tool, and we'll use that in a moment to clean up things like hair. If you only see the Refine Edge tool, just long click on that and then select the Roto Brush. Start drawing lines on the part of your image that you want to select, and you can draw multiple lines and they will sort of add up together to make an overall mask. Once you've made the first line, just eyeball the effects controls panel up here just to make sure that you're using version 3 of the Roto Brush. There's no great reason really to be using any of the earlier ones. This one is available from version 24 of After Effects, I believe, so make sure you're up to date in the program as well if you're not seeing that. Leave the rest of these settings for now. To increase or decrease your brush size, making for better selections, hold Command and drag the mouse up or down the screen to increase the size or decrease the size of the brush. If your selection has grabbed anything that you don't want, you can hold Option and your brush will turn red. This will allow you to deselect sections of that mask. Now go through and make your selection as best you can on the first frame. Don't worry too much about any tricky sections like hair for now, we can refine those shortly. Once you're happy, you can either play forward by hitting spacebar and letting After Effects render out your mask, keeping an eye on it throughout to make sure it's sort of not going rogue and selecting different things that you don't want it to select. And if it does, just hit spacebar to pause and then refine your selection manually. And once you're happy with that refinement, you can continue playing through and repeat the process, and After Effects will continue to learn and make sure that mask is perfect. Alternatively, if you really want to refine it, you can go frame by frame, either with page up or page down if you have those keys on your keyboard, or by holding Command and hitting the left and right keys. I like to do it frame by frame. Okay, so while the Roto Brush is doing its thing, let's do the Envato thing.
This video is brought to you by Envato, the unlimited creative subscription. The broadest range of categories, everything that you need to make great videos. Follow the link in the description and start creating now.
All right, let's see how that's done. It's done a pretty good job, but the hair is being a little bit tricky. We thought that might happen. Let's get our Refine Edge tool from up here, increase the size, then paint around our hair. Now that has given us weird X-ray vision, but don't worry, you can toggle different view modes with these buttons down here. They just give you some options as to how you want to view the matte when you're kind of refining that selection. In this X-ray mode, for instance, the white is what it's picking up and the black is what it's leaving behind, in a manner of speaking. We'll again let After Effects go through and refine its own selection, and it's done a pretty nice job here. Once we're happy and we want to move back to our composition, or we want to refine the options in the effects controls panel here, we first need to tell After Effects to freeze this selection, saying, this is our base, don't change it from here, we'll just make some minor tweaks, but we don't want you to change the mask. And we can do that with the freeze button right here. And if you ever do want to change the selection, simply unfreeze it with the same button, make your refinements, and then refreeze it again. From here, you can tweak those settings to your liking. I generally like to shift the edge in just a little bit, add a tiny bit of contrast and feather, which you'd think might work against each other, but they kind of do good stuff at leveling each other out. This goes for the Refine Edge matte as well. Really, this does depend on the piece of footage that you're working with, so tweak to your heart's content. Then there's the Use Motion Blur checkbox down here, and honestly, this is a per footage kind of tool. It might offer some amazing results, or it might completely go the opposite way. Have a play around with it and see what works with the footage that you're working with. Some people absolutely swear by this, but I found it's a bit of 50-50 for me. Sometimes it just really doesn't work, but go ahead, try it. So now you can go back into your composition and do whatever it is you were intending to do with your background. If you want to completely swap it out, easy. Pop that layer underneath this roto layer and you're basically good to go. If you want to pop text in between the foreground and the background, that's also really simple. All you need to do is duplicate the layer, call the top one foreground and the bottom one background, for example, and then on the background layer, simply delete the Roto Brush from the effects controls panel. Then add your text or anything else in between those layers and you're golden. So that's the Roto Brush. Number 2 is the manual way. Fun fact, rotoscoping refers to the old analog animation technique of projecting live action footage onto a glass plane and then having an illustrator trace that image frame by frame onto paper. Then that paper frame is filmed frame by frame, and when played back, you have an animation that looks lifelike in its movement. So that's effectively what the Roto Brush is doing. But we can also do that with some basic tools here in After Effects. In your main comp, select the pen tool with G or up here, then zoom in and start your mask by clicking, then move to your next point and click, then do this a couple of hundred times to select the object that you want to mask. Am I suggesting this on complex footage? Most definitely not. Where I'd use this is on basic things, like a street sign, for example. And the reason is because even if we go through and create this amazing detailed mask, it's only on one frame of our footage. Then you have to move to the next frame, and with your mask path set to be keyframed, you then have to move all those little points and rinse and repeat for all of the frames that are within your shot. This is obviously a complex shot, and it's way too complex to demonstrate this on, so let's swap it out for something like this, the aforementioned street sign. Basically, all I need to do is create my 4 points, set my mask path to keyframe, skip to the next frame, and then line up the 4 points of my mask to the right positions for this frame. For a simple mask like this one, you don't even have to do it for every frame either. You can do it for your first frame and then skip all the way through to the end, change your mask points, which will add another mask path keyframe, and then it will morph over time. Obviously, with more keyframes in between, it's more precise, and then you can kind of go through and you might end up doing it every frame or every second frame or every 5 frames, see what works for you. It is a long and kind of fiddly process, and this is why we do use computer-assisted tools like the Roto Brush. But it is handy to know how to do it manually, so if in a pinch a scenario crops up where the Roto Brush isn't right, you go ahead and just do it manually with a mask. Then you have the third way, chroma keying, or more commonly known as green screening. And this could be the topic of an entire video or entire video series, especially when it comes to shooting green screen content and how to light it properly. Actually, if you do want me to make that video, then let me know down in the comments. I'd love to jump into it. Like I said, we can talk for hours on how to light green screen. But for now, we'll grab something from Envato to play with. It's perfect for practicing editing techniques and compositing techniques like this when you don't have the ability to go out and shoot this footage yourself. Jump on Envato, grab a whole bunch of green screen footage and play with it. Now, good green screen footage actually makes for a great base for our Roto Brush tool, like I mentioned earlier. Obviously, there's much cleaner edges than with regular footage, so it will do a pretty good job. So don't just think because it's green screen, you have to use something like a keyer. You most definitely can use the Roto Brush tool as well. But given we have already looked at that, let's look at how to remove green screen using key light effects in After Effects. With the green screen footage in your composition, go into your Effects and Presets panel and search for key light. Drag that onto your layer. The first step is to grab the screen color eyedropper tool up here and click on the green in your image. And you can see with this particular image, it's done immediately an excellent job of removing the background. And that's because we had a really good shot to work with. The green screen was super well lit and even throughout. And if you're not seeing the result, make sure that your view dropdown is set to final result, and then you will. If you need to refine your selection further, you can adjust the screen gain and screen balance. These are the two tools which are looking specifically at the tone of the green in the image and telling the effect what to remove. You can use the screen balance in particular around tricky things like hair. Then you have the rest of the refinement tools, similar to what we saw with the Roto Brush tool. You can shrink or grow the matte, change the softness of the edges, and so on and so forth. Refine these tools until you have an image that you're happy with. Now, depending on what you're compositing this footage into, you might not need to be too pixel perfect at this stage, as you'll more than likely be adding other effects over the top of both images and changing things like color grading and making lighting refinements and things like that. And that will all go really far to help blend it all together. So there you go. That's 3 ways of removing the background or separating parts of your image out in order to start compositing. It could be really simple, like adding text behind your subject, or as complex as compositing your character into some magical mystery adventure land. Cue rainbows and air horns. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, give it a like, tell your friends. Don't forget to check out Envato for all of your video creation needs, and until next time, keep your edges refined.